Here we are today again with Chris Sheldon and joined up by also Sue Sheldon and Dale Sheldon. And in our first episode, we were talking about a upcoming YDNA test that Chris was going to do. And Chris, you shared what you knew about your family and what your expectations were. And we've texted back and forth, but we really haven't talked about the results. So do you want to share your first thoughts on what you found out?
I mean, to be quite honest, I'm not entirely surprised. With knowing as little as I did going into this, the results that I got were almost exciting. I mean, not even almost exciting, they're very exciting. I'm 36 years old and I haven't really known a whole lot about where my family came from or really, what our traditions were, anything like that. And, any results that I got from this were going to be nice. I do plan on taking or expanding and upgrading my test because I feel like it will give me more answers. But as of right now, it's definitely opened up a lot of windows for me to look through. Yeah.
It absolutely has. Now I'm going to try sharing my screen again and look at your results here. Just a second. It's not being very cooperative. There we go. Your closest match with 0 mismatches is a Sheldon, and you have 30 matches, and over half of them, 18, are with Shannons. You have 2 McIntyre matches and 2 Isaac matches, and 1 each of the surnames Hendrick, Wheeler, Witt, Davenport, and Tibbetts. And I took the liberty of comparing your Sheldon match and you in this is called the TIP calculator, and it looks at the number of mismatches you have. You have no mismatches. So it estimates your chances of being related or having a common ancestor in the last 4 generations, which I guesstimate to be about 100 years, is 83.49%. Within the last 200 years, 97.28%. And within the last 300 years, 99.55%. And pretty much guaranteed that you are related within that 300-year period. So it would be worth your while to definitely get in touch with that Sheldon. Then looking at your full list, this is I downloaded and I've anonymized. I haven't put the first names in. So you can see that your top match is a Sheldon. And then your next, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which are one step off. And we can look at that in a little bit. It's basically you have the exact same values at each of the markers as that other person for your first match, the Sheldon. And then the other ones, there's a 1 mismatch. And then as we go down, you have quite a few with 2 mismatches and so on. So looking at this list, I would say that the Sheldon match is definitely a Sheldon on this side of the pond that you match with, and probably a descendant of your James, the one that came over here as a revolutionary soldier for the British. That makes sense to you?
Yes, it does. I looked up a little bit of information about that first match, and to my knowledge, they did live in Ohio. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they might already be deceased.
I think that's possible, but it's good because that means that whole branch of the family are going to be named Sheldons, and now we have an origin story for them in its rough outline. It looks to me that you are the person back on the other side of the pond was a Shannon. And because you have such a predominance of Shannon matches, I'd be surprised to find out it was anything else. These other surnames that you see in here, like McIntyre and Isaacs, don't discount them out of hand, because they can be clues. Where you find Shannons and McIntyres and Isaacs could be interesting.
Mhm.
The one there that was interesting particularly was I think it's number 10, and the earliest known ancestor with Jacob Cope Isaacs, and born January 25th, 1767. Winchester, I'm not sure, Winchester FR, I'm not sure what that's standing for, so that needs a little research. But I also thought it was interesting that a number of these were from Ireland, and then a number were from Scotland. And that suggests maybe an Ulster Scot, which there was lots of Scots that were encouraged to settle in Northern Ireland in the 17th and 18th centuries. So it's possible it gets at it that way. Anyway, so this wasn't a huge surprise to you. Let me stop sharing.
Can I also, oh, actually, can you keep that up for just a moment?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if you're still sharing it. I'm also finding number 12 and 18 interesting, that they are in Pennsylvania, but originated in Ireland as well, just like Christopher's family.
Right. Yeah.
So they also went to Pennsylvania. And number 12, William Shannon, actually predates that a bit. So I'm wondering if there was that might be an interesting connection to look into as well. Like why did he take the name Sheldon? Was this Shannon family in Pennsylvania known to Christopher's family and vice versa?
Right. There's a lot of possibilities here. I mean, everything. And the fact that the name starts with SH is, I find interesting. I mean, it could be completely coincidental, but it also could mean something.
Well, I did a little bit of further research into some of the earlier names on this list, and what I found was that a lot of them were involved specifically in the Williamite War and the Jacobite Rising in the 1700s. So my original thought that I had about the connection to Dominic and the Jacobites in France, this almost kind of proves it. So I'm really looking forward into looking into more of this and kind of seeing where they all go, and I'm definitely buying it.
I think that if I was to guess, in one of my first thoughts, and you'll think me crazy, but I often come up with scenarios in situations like this. And my first thought was, I think this guy comes from a family of soldiers, like we had discussed, and I thought, which makes sense. And the Jacobites and the Scots in general were, mercenaries for hire. I mean, they have a long history as Celts of being soldiers and fighting for whomever. And as your ancestor showed, I mean, he came over here for the British, but he didn't waste any time in changing his alliance when it suited him.
Right. Well, I also found some really interesting information about the Irish coalition that was, if I'm not mistaken, financed and built by William Pitt. So there was an Irish connection, a very strong Irish connection between the original progenitors of Pennsylvania and the Irish soldiers that were here during the American Revolution.
Yeah, that might tie in with what Dale was saying too, of those earlier Shannons. And the other thing I thought about is whether, I mean, soldiers have a tendency to, they have wives and they have liaisons or family here and there. And I mean, you could see that a soldier could take up a wife who had a few children and they were fathered by somebody else and adopted. So they became Sheldons or, you know, or whatever. I mean, you could see different possible scenarios whereby there wasn't really anything nefarious happening. It's just that's how it happens. Or that there was a liaison between the wife and a Shannon because, you know, because her husband was gone for a long period of time or whatever. So,
yeah. Or it wasn't uncommon for couples to, even back then, although people don't really think of it, to get together before they had the opportunity to get married, because there was an understanding that they would get married, but then something might have happened. What I'm talking about is maybe James's mother may have been a Sheldon and was planning on marrying a Shannon. That never happened, but the son was stillborn. And so, but then he took the Sheldon name. Stuff like that. Yeah, there's so many possible scenarios.
There is, and I think it's unfortunate that people always tend to gravitate towards the
gossipy ones.
yeah. And there's just many reasons, but I'm really happy, Chris, that you're embracing this new adventure. I mean, it was exciting for me to be able to connect that earlier Sheldon with you and to have this possible Shannon line to pursue. And you're always going to be wanting to look for the McIntyres, the Isaacs, all these other names in any area that you find your Sheldon, because those can be keys.
Especially Isaacs, because that is not a super common name, right?
No, or spelling.
Surname?
Yeah, he's got 2 Isaacs and 2 McIntyres. I haven't done any research to see where the McIntyres are in Scotland, but those things.
I mean, they're kind of everywhere. McIntyre is such a common name.
Right. Well, they were also not considered to be like one specific clan. They were usually found under the umbrella of larger clans.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know what
Isaacs, that's like one of those singular names like Pit Blotto, where it's like just one little family. It might be easier to track them down a little bit.
Well, here's something too. I'm going to share my screen again. Let me get out of here. I want you to see the Shannon project and some hints there. So hold on.
Okay. No matter what, it's an exciting new chapter in the Sheldon narrative.
It's really
There's a
great.
whole new...
So my screen, here we go. Okay, so I've pulled up here. I think you guys can see this pretty well, right?
It's small, but yes,
small,
we can kind of see it.
Yeah, I can try to make it a little bigger. So this is the Shannon project, and they've got all these different groupings, and you're in the what they call the Thomas Agnes group. And you can see there's the Garrett, the Tibbets, the Isaacs, the McIntyre, all in this group. No one in this group has done a big Y, which I would recommend contacting some of your matches and seeing if at least one of you would spring for it, because that would be really helpful. But you can see, you know, basically this is a solid group with quite a few
good
Shannons in it. So you have a good place to go from there. The other thing I wanted to show you, if you play around on their website there at FTDNA, this is the Thomas Agnes group, and that's going to give you some other information. This is public on their public site, so I don't have any problem with showing it. And it's got some contact information there as well. But
Oh,
anyway,
can you scroll down a little bit? Hold on. Can you scroll back down a little bit?
yeah.
Look at this. James A. Shannon, Galveston County, Texas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's right up the road. We're by Houston.
Right.
Well, you'll definitely want to get in touch with that, Shannon. But I think together, and especially if a couple of you or one of you would go for a big Y, you can get some further information that's going to be really helpful.
We should, just saying that, Kelly, we should create this document for us.
Yeah, that would be
Because
great.
this is really, I like how they set this up. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, very good. You know, we can have a further session that we go on and talk about whatever Chris discovers over the next few weeks here. But I think this was a good start at showing what, I mean, we had no idea where you were going to land, Chris, and this was a possibility that I hadn't even contemplated. I mean, I'd contemplated that you might not match any of our Sheldon groups, but I didn't contemplate that you would match one of our existing Sheldons and that you would have this NPE with this Shannon. So I think it's great news. I'm glad you've embraced it, and I look forward to where we go from here.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate all y'all's help and how welcoming everyone's been. It's been an interesting journey, and it's been a lot easier with y'all's help, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
until next time, we'll be joining you again.